And then these are just some of the write-ups after my dad's won the Commonwealth title. So again, Magee sixth world title shot. A lot of the talk at that stage was about him maybe fighting for the WBO title against Darius Michalczewski. Again, another one there. Magee is the champion. This one here I really love because this is a nice photo of my dad with John Breen, who was my dad's trainer, who played a big part in obviously my dad reaching his dream of winning that title. John would have been in the corner for the title defeats and stuff, and you know, my dad was, I think, the last champion from the Barn Eastwood stable back then, and John was a massive part of playing it. So a lovely photo there, and again you can see them with the Eastwood jumpers on. Barn Eastwood's obviously his chain of betting shops back then, getting a bit of publicity. So yeah, I love that one. Magee Rebels in champion status, so a lovely write up there as well. Let's move on. So again, yeah, these are just some sort of clippings after the Commonwealth title fight. So this one was actually in the local paper, Newcastle, the Morning Observer. So a nice one there with my mum and my granny as well. You'll notice that my dad doesn't have the belt, which again, if you've listened to this podcast, he talks about kind of waiting for 6-7 weeks for it to be delivered, so that you can see the gloves there and the fight program. And then at the bottom here you've some world rankings that my dad picked up, because Gary Delaney was actually very, very highly ranked. As I mentioned earlier, he was British #1, but he was also #3 in the WBC and #4 in the WBO, so massive high rankings there. My dad actually, I think there is #6 in the WBO, that should be. And this one I really love, because this one was from, I think it was Boxing Illustrated magazine. And you can see this is the top 25 light heavyweights, including all the champions. And some of the names there, you know, Henry Mask, Darius Michalczewski, Virgil Hill, James Toney, Teoso, Mike McCallum, Michael Nunn. These are unbelievable fighters. And my dad's actually #20 there. And he's the #1 in Britain and Ireland, and #5 in Europe, which is quite a nice thing as well. So yeah, I just I'd sort of like to find all these things also. And then over here, I'll just turn it. This Just the Jab for Magee. I knew it was my last chance, so that was a nice write-up kind of done just after he won that Commonwealth title as well. So a nice interview. And then I think this was the photo that went along with that. You know, a nice body punch being landed there on Gary Delaney. And then these are the WBC rankings from, I think, August 1995. So again, at the time, my dad wouldn't have known anything about these world rankings really, because he wouldn't have bought the magazines and stuff. Would have probably been expensive to get everything. But me being a bit of a boxing geek in the years that have passed, I kind of went and found all the magazines from '95, and then we realised that my dad was actually, if you look there, my dad was actually ranked #7 in the WBC, which again is a great achievement, and #1 there in Britain. All the other fighters in Britain are just below him there, and there's some great fighters, Irish fighters there as well. So I think, if I'm right, yeah, there you are. Wayne McCulloch is #1. Ranked in the bantamweight division, and then he would go on to win that title you know, a few months later. So '95 was a great year, and also I think Steve Collins and Eamon Locker were world champions that year as well. These are just other ones. I'm not going to bore you too much with all these, but this is the worldwide rankings from Ring Magazine. So again, I was a big Ring Magazine fan, so looking at that, my dad, I think there is in the top sort of 10-11 there, out of all the champions, and he was number 10, I think, in the WBA, and that's just all the rankings there as well. And this is just a nice little clipping from the Morning Observer, I was going to say there, from the Boxing News. Back then, just showing my dad's record as Commonwealth champion. And then over here, this is a list of all the Commonwealth ratings, and you can see all the champions there, and you can see, sorry, just below there, my dad being the Commonwealth champion there for light heavyweight. And a nice photo there of Sam Story, who's just beaten Ali Forbes for the British title, so that made the British title his own. He had won it outright, so it's a nice one there as well. And then these ones I put in, I actually really like this top one, because this was the preview of my dad's fight with Gary Delaney. So Mark Butcher, who was obviously a journalist for Boxing News, he had done this write-up, and it says there, rising Delaney can see off Magee in 4. And if we go here, you can see the last paragraph or so. It says, Magee doesn't possess the punch to hurt Delaney, and certainly seems to be a man on the way down, whereas the Londoner is most definitely rising. I expect Delaney to pressure the Irishman from the opening bell before stopping him in 4 one-sided rounds. So yeah, not all journalists get it right, obviously, because that my dad obviously you know, won the fight. But yeah, it's just, I always think it's nice to kind of look at just what was being talked about before the fight. And then at the bottom here, Magee gets taste of the big time. That's when he was then getting ready to fight for his Commonwealth title defence against Nicky Piper, and that was going to be on a massive card actually outdoors in Cardiff, in front of 16,000 people, because it was going to be Prince Nassim Hamed fighting Steve Robinson for the title. So that was going to be a big sort of sky card. And then other wee write-ups here again, McLeay after my dad won the Commonwealth title, and then at the bottom there, that a couple of years on, that's just a wee preview of my dad's fight with Darren Corbett, which we'll talk about in a little while. And just a photo of my dad there with his belt, and then over here we've got, I think this is from the programme from my dad's fight with Nicky Piper on that Nas undercard. So a nice write-up of the two of them there, and they put on a great show. My dad fought so well that night against Piper. Was ahead, hurt Piper a couple of times, but just Piper got to my dad in the 9th round, and I suppose that's kind of sucked the life out of my dad in terms of his pro career, and he retired after that, for a year or so. But yeah, it's nice to look back on that nice clip from the programme. And over here you can see this is the rankings, I think, the British rankings from back in '95. And you can see, I think they have my dad at number 3 there, but they do a nice wee feature on each boxer. And again, some great fighters there from back in those days: Crawford Ashley, Morse Core, Gary Delaney, Nicky Piper. Even over here, some young fighters that did very well. Bruce Scott, I think he went on to win a British Commonwealth cruiserweight title. Mark Prince fought for the world title. He was a good fighter as well. So yeah, nice to look back on. And then this is just the sort of preview in the boxing news just before my dad's fight with Delaney. I think they had picked Piper to win on a close points decision. So it's a nice write up there as well. And then over here, this is a nice little sort of memory of my dad getting honoured by the Ardoyne community, or the council in North Belfast, along with John Ferrin, who won the Belfast Marathon in 1995. So the Ardoyne community honoured both of them, and the TV cameras were there in the press, and you can see at the top there myself, my sister Hayley, and my granny, and my mum, and different members of the family. So that was a nice day as well. And then over here, this is just a couple of the wee write-ups then after my dad lost the Piper, so Magee's world crashes, and again obviously my dad retired after that, so that was just a write-up, I think, in the, must be, yeah, David Kelly's done that, so it would have been in the Irish News or Belfast Telegraph at the time. And then after, I suppose, a year and a half where my dad's came out of boxing, retired, left school with no qualifications, no job to walk into. Any money that he made from boxing, he invested it in his home to try and buy the house, but no savings really in the bank, so he had to then do any job he could, and did a bit of labour and painting and decorating, did the door for years. But after a year and a half, he decided he was going to have to make a comeback to earn a few pound, and this is actually his first comeback fight. And you can see there at the bottom that he shared the bill with his brother Eamon, who had just turned pro. So it's quite nice actually that my dad started his career in boxing the same bill with Terry, and then finished his career with Eamon. So you can see there at the bottom the Magee brothers, and Darren Corbett was topping the bill. He was Irish champion, having beaten, I think, Ray Kane at the end of '96. So yeah, it's a nice programme to have there. And then over here, this is just a little write-up leading up to my dad's fight with Darren Corbett. So obviously my dad got the Corbett fight. That was kind of talked about, both from Belfast, both from North Belfast actually. Darren from the bone, my dad from Ardoyne. But looking back, I suppose my dad always kind of regrets it. He was never cruiserweight, and it was very close to home as well with Darren. Knew each other. Darren was obviously a bit younger, but went to the same gym as amateurs and stuff. And yeah, Darren obviously won the fight, and good luck to him. He went on to win the Commonwealth title, which is something, at least when my dad lost that fight, he didn't lose to just a nobody. Obviously Darren went on to do some good things, and he was definitely at his peak around that time. Last couple of wee pages, I think, here. This is just a write-up leading up to that Corbett fight and his comeback. Me and Magee is back on the title track, so a nice wee feature done there. And then over here, there's actually a nice photo of my dad and Eamon with the poster for the fight with Darren. And again, boxer Magee tops at Ulster, or the bill at Ulster Hall, so it's a nice one to have there as well. And then I think this is a wee photo of my dad's sparring, Cathal O'Grady, who was a very good amateur and went to the Olympic Games sparring in Eastwood's gym. So again, this is all leading up to the fight. You can see there the careers officer wanted me to take my exams, but I told him that I was going to be a professional boxer. My mind was made up, so we featured it as well. And then just all the wee ones leading up to the Corbett fight there. And then the very last one, so if you look here, that's I suppose the last write-up of my dad's pro career. So losing to Darren Corbett, got put down with a shot to the back of the head and actually broke his ankle. And I think that was obviously that signal the end. My dad came back to make a couple of pound and just knew after that night that that was it. And I always think that photo of my dad there, just with the tongue out, it's almost just resigned to the fact that, yeah, listen, that's it, I'm done. So yeah, it's one of those ones just to finish off the career there. There's not many fighters end usually on a high. It kind of goes that way, but at least, as I say, Darren went on to, win the Commonwealth title, I think, later on that year. And then just to finish off, just wee things I would have kept. So that was my dad's record from BoxRec. So 37 fights. I think, only losing 7. So yeah, and then after that, you've got nice photos that we'd have taken over the years of my dad's sort of trophies and his certificates and belts and stuff. So those would hang proudly in the home. And then a nice little feature here that Belfast Boxers did with my dad a few years ago. They were doing interviews and stuff with different boxers and putting them in the local press, which was really nice. So that was just like 10 questions. They did 10 rounds, which was a really good thing. Belfast Boxers do fantastic things, even now still covering all the fighters, and they never forget about the boxers from the past, which is great as well. And then these are just some nice ones of the murals and stuff that my dad would be featured on in Ardoyne and the Bone. So this top one here was done, must be quite a few years ago now, 5, 6, 7 years maybe. But that was a proud moment to see my dad featured on that wall with Freddie Gilroy, Paddy Barnes, Darren Corbett, my uncle Eamon, and then also Terry's on there as well with various boxers. And it's still there. It's been changed slightly. I think it got a bit of damage done, and some of the pictures have changed and stuff, but it's really proud to see my family on that as well. And then this is one that, again, this featured just across Old Park Avenue, across from the Secret Heart Boxing Club, which thankfully now is back up and running. Ian McGill and co are doing a great job now with the boxers there. So this is a nice little mural that was done, and you can see my dad featured there with his brothers. You can also see at the bottom here, you can see my Uncle Patrick. It comes out a wee bit in the red there, and Ian McCauley and other fighters there, Darren Corbett and stuff. So it's lovely to have that in that area as well. And then other little little photos just to finish off on. My dad there with Steve Collins. They sort of met again in Laganeel Boxing Club, where my Uncle Patrick's a coach, and Steve was actually there. He was doing the grand unveiling of the new club. And so my dad was there, and they got together for a nice photo, and a lot of respect between the two of them, obviously sharing the ring twice before and being stablemates. And then at the bottom, my dad there with John Breen and Barney Eastwood, who obviously his manager and his trainer when he came back to Belfast. So it's a nice photo of them there. Barney obviously passed away a couple of years ago, so it's nice to have that. And then just all the wee photos here. My dad actually was head coach and chairman of Newcastle Amateur Boxing Club for 3 years. In the sort of mid-2000s, 2005 I think to maybe 2008, and Eamon came down and helped open up the club, and there's a nice photo of the two of them there. And then me and my dad there with the Irish champion that we got, Philip Sloan, who came to us. He had never boxed before, and my dad basically trained him up, and then I helped as much as I could. And Philip was a fantastic wee boxer. I think at 12 or 13 he won the Irish title, won about 3 or 4 Ulster titles with us, and that was an amazing thing for me and my dad to go down, just the two of us with Philly, and from to come away with that Irish title. That was a proud moment for us back in 2007. And then other photos just to finish off with. My dad there, 39 years of age, it's just finished doing the Belfast Marathon. The freaky thing about that is I'm just realising I'm the same age as now as what my dad was then. So just looking at that. And then underneath there was a nice photo of my dad with his two brothers, Eamon and Terry, with their belts. Terry there was Irish belt, and Eamon was 2 belts. My dad holding the Commonwealth one there. So that was a nice wee one as well. And then just finishing off little photos of this was a do maybe 10 years or so ago up at the Europa, a wee boxing event where they invited a lot of former champions, and you can see Paul McCluskey there, and I think that's Davy Lorimer in the middle, my dad, Neil Sinclair, Stephen Kirk, and then at the bottom there, my dad and Eamon with my granny Isabel, with a couple of the belts of Eamon's as well. So proud mum, their 2 sons there as well. So yeah, just some nice wee photos to finish off. And then that's pretty much it. Just some other wee pictures and different rankings and stuff that we've probably already covered, different things. But yeah, everyone, that's just That's just the scrapbook of my dad's there. There's another scrapbook of loads of stuff from England as well, but this is one that I put together a few years ago, and I just thought it'd be nice to share it with any boxing fans. And yeah, so just yeah, let me know what you think, and anyone else who has other scrapbooks, get them up. It's great for people to look back at these memories as well. All right, everyone, take care. Have a good one.